Hello everyone, welcome to our lesson for today, lesson 1.1, points, lines, and planes. So go ahead and title your notes, points, lines, and planes. So you should have already taken a look at this Quizlet, these flashcards, and tried to match them up. So hopefully you got at least a couple that you're comfortable with. What we're going to do in this video is go through every one of them, and then I'm going to tell you some other tricks that you can put in your notes. So first of all, we're going to talk about the point. So here, go ahead and title or write down points. And write down the description on the flashcard, so an exact location in space. The other thing that you'll need to note is that a point has no size or dimension. So it's 0-dimensional, and that it's represented by a dot. In particular, so a dot with a capital letter for its name. Capital is spelled with an A. So for example, you see a dot here with a capital A. Or it could be a dot with the capital B, or a dot with the capital whatever letter, W. Okay, but you only name it with one capital letter. So just one capital letter. Okay, so let's do the next one. A line. So it says a line is a straight path that extends without end in opposite directions. Oops. A line. So a line has one dimension. It has no thickness. And then like it says here, it extends without end. Okay, so here are two examples of how you can name a line. So one way, so we've got a line, and a line always has arrows on both ends. So whenever you see a straight line here, it has to have both arrows on both ends to be considered a line. If it's only one arrow, then it would be a ray. Or if it had no arrows and then dots on the end, it would be a segment. So anyways, the first way that you can name a line is with one point and a lowercase letter, for example, L. So lowercase letter, for example, L or M or N, for example, or P, or even like the lowercase letter R. And then it's cursive. So lowercase letter, cursive. Okay, so that's the first way that you can name a line. The second way that you can name a line is with 2 points that are on the line. So I apologize here. This isn't, let me get my eraser. This isn't necessarily point L. This is just a point on a line. So the entire line is just named lowercase cursive L. Okay, so, or let's say we do have 2 points on this line. Let's say we have points A and B. So the other way you can name a line is using those 2 points with capital letters. So 2 points. So you would write A and B together and then put the line symbol on top of it. Okay, or let's say we have 2 other points here, X and Y. So you would name you could name this line also with those 2 points. So capital XY with the line symbol on top. Okay, or you can mix and match. You could say AX or BY or whatever of those. You cannot use lowercase l with A, B, X, or Y because L is not a point. L is just the name for the line. Okay, the other thing to note here about lines is that a line is created with at least 2 points. It has to have at least 2 points to form a line. Okay, and there are infinite points on a line. So you need at least 2 points to name a line. I'm sorry, this should be name a line. But there are infinite points on a line. All right, let's go to the next one. So lines, that was kind of important to touch on those since we see lines everywhere in geometry. All right, so a plane is a two-dimensional flat surface that extends in all directions. So go ahead and write that down for your plane definition. And then the way to draw a plane, like the best way to do it is to draw a parallelogram. So draw 2 parallel lines and then connect them with another 2 pair of parallel lines. Okay, so let's talk about how to name a plane. So a plane extends infinitely in all directions. That's what these arrows are for. They just tell you that they keep going on and on forever, even though it looks like it stops. So a plane, actually, before we talk about how to name a plane, let's talk about the other thing about a plane is that it's formed by 3 non-collinear points. Formed by 3 non-collinear points. We'll do non-collinear on the next slide, but it basically means that they don't form a line. So, for example, let's say I'm actually going to make my plane bigger. Oh, no, that's fine. So I'll do 3 points here. Let's say points A, B, and C. So notice that points A, B, and C do not form a line. It's kind of obvious in this way, but they don't form a line. So they could make a plane. So the one way that you can name it would be using 3 capital letters. So name with 3 capital letters or 3 points. So you have to be able to name it with 3. So for example, A, B, C. You don't have to put anything on top of it. Don't put a segment or a line symbol. Just as long as you see A, B, C, that means that it's a plane. Or you can also name a plane with a capital cursive letter. Okay, for example, I'm going to try to use some colors here. For example, how about capital M? So we can name this plane using capital cursive M. Okay, you could pick any other cursive letter to represent this plane. Okay, but if you use the cursive capital letter, then you only need 1. And then M, notice that M is not a point on the plane. It just represents what the actual plane is called. So M is not a point. You might want to make a note of that. So basically, whenever you see a cursive letter in a figure or a diagram, it's not a point. It's just a name of either a line if it's lowercase or a plane if it's uppercase or capital. Okay, and that is all we need to know. Also, you don't have to necessarily name a plane or a line in alphabetical order. It's maybe easier to do that, but you don't have to. So you could name this C CBA or CAB, for example. Okay, so next one, collinear points. So it says collinear points are points that lie on the same line. Okay, so there's nothing really more to that. So make sure you maybe pause the video to get a chance to write that one down. So collinear points, so A, B, and C are all collinear because they lie on the same line. Okay, maybe just one little thing, if you had a point out here, D would not be collinear with A, B, and C because it's not in line with those 3 points. And then non-collinear just means that the points do not lie on the same line. So just like what I was talking about, D, or in this example, G and H, those would be non-collinear with A, F, and B. Okay, and I don't know if you can see very well here, but notice that this little lowercase letter here, I'm not really sure exactly what that letter is. Let's just say it's L. That would be another name for this line. Okay, and the name of this line you could also say is AF or FB or AB. So just kind of expanding on our understanding of naming a line. Okay, coplanar. Let me erase all this stuff. So coplanar is kind of like collinear, except it means that the points lie on the same plane. Okay, nothing really more to that, so just copy this down with the diagram here. So all 4 of these points are coplanar. And then non-coplanar probably is the next one. So non-coplanar, don't make another diagram, just use the same diagram as the last one and then draw a point that lies above your plane and make sure that it's not like, for example, you see how the point S here, it's not covering this purple plane. It's above it. Okay, that's how you can tell that it's above. And they use a little segment here that goes vertical. Another way you might want to show that, and let me draw here. So I've got my plane. This plane here is plane R, so that's the cursive letter. And then see how it has a line. There's a line on the plane using points T, U, and V. And then they draw, I'm going to use another color here. They draw a segment going up. And you see how I make the segment long enough to make it look like it's this point here is not on plane R. So S would be non-coplanar with these points and plane R. Okay, you could also denote a little right angle symbol here to show that this segment here is in fact going perpendicular to the plane. So it's not another segment that's lying on the plane. Okay. A line segment. So a line segment is a part of a line between 2 endpoints. So the way you want to name a line segment is just like you would name a line, except, so say AB, except instead of drawing arrows at the ends, you would just make dots. Or you don't have to make the dots, but I like to just so that I know that I'm not putting arrows there and that it's a segment and not a line or a ray. Okay, so it's part of a line, and then it has 2 endpoints. Okay, so another thing to note here is say you do have a line with points A, B, and C. So AB would be a segment on the line. BC would be a segment on the line. AC, from A to C, that would be a segment on the line, right? Okay. Next definition is a ray. So for a ray, it says a part of a line with one endpoint that continues without n in the direction. Okay, so let's go back to the line example that we had for a segment. So there are many different rays that we can name. We could start with A and use A and B. So if we named A and B, we could either name it ray AB. So that would start at A. Noting it this way would mean that it starts at A and it goes in the direction of B, like that. I'm going to use a different color for another one. Or we could start at B and go in the direction of A. Okay. Note that the endpoint always has to be on the left and the arrow always has to be on the right. So you can't name it BA like that. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. You can't name it BA like that. Okay, that is not allowed. Maybe write that down and put an X through it just so you know that you're not supposed to do it that way. Okay, let's maybe do another one. How about AC, ray AC? So actually, ray AC is the same as ray AB. So they both start at A and then, oops, I meant to put C there. So they both start at A and then go in the direction of B and C, which are in the same direction. So these are actually the same, they're equivalent. So I would make a note of that in your notes. And then there are two other ones that we can name. I'm going to write these ones in red. There's ray CB, so starting at point C and then going in the direction of B. This is not the same thing as BA, because although they go in the same direction, they start at different endpoints. And also CA, starting at C and then going in the direction of A. These are the same because they're starting at the same point and then going the same direction. And remember that this arrow means that it goes on forever. So just because B is closer doesn't mean it's shorter. They're both the same length because it goes on forever. Okay, let's do the next one. So opposite rays. Go ahead and write down opposite rays and then the description and the diagram. So two rays that share the same endpoint and they form a line. So whenever you have opposite rays, they form a line. So write down this description and this diagram. So once you're done writing that down, and you can pause so that you have time to do that, the other thing you want to note is that they are not just two rays, but two collinear rays. Because if they're not collinear, then you would have this. So I'm just going to copy down the diagram that's shown with A, C, and D. Okay, so they say CA and CD are opposite rays. Okay, I like to put an endpoint above C just so I know that that's where it starts. So let's say we have another ray that shares the same endpoint as CA, ray CA, and ray CD, but it's going in a different direction. So it's going kind of at an angle. And let's put maybe B here. So CB would not be an opposite ray to these two because it's not collinear with CD and rays CA. So go ahead and write that one down, but put an X through it so you know that it doesn't count. And then just note that two opposite rays form a line. Two opposite rays form a line. And when you're taking geometry notes, feel free to use abbreviations. So notice instead of saying opposite, I just write OPP for opposite. That might help save some time. Okay, and then intersection, we're actually gonna skip this one because it's kind of obvious. There's not a lot to talk about there. Endpoint, we will also skip that one. And two ways to name a plane, we already talked about this, but if you want to write it in your notes again, you can. So plane M, usually this is a capital letter. So usually this is like capital M instead of lowercase m, and it's usually cursive. But whenever you see it, it's usually cursive, and then there's no point that's around it. So you can name it with either one capital cursive letter or using 3 non-collinear points. Okay, so say for example, you do have this plane. So maybe copy this one down, and you have a line in the plane that's A, B, has points A, B, and C. In order to name this plane, you would have to have another point. So let's make another point. And the reason why is because A, B, and C are collinear, and you can only name a plane using 3 non-collinear points. So let's make a point out here, D. So the one way we cannot name this plane would be A, B, C. So we can't do it that way. We could do A, D, B, or B, D, C, or a variety of other ways, just not A, B, C, or a combination of those 3. So we can't use B, A, C. Okay, so you have to name it with 3 other ways. Okay, so that is all for the vocab. So now what you're going to do is do the Polaris assignment that's below in the day 2 folder, and that is all until Monday.